everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Angela and I'm an angelic Arcturian, and I'm here today to transmit to you guys a little bit about 7 stages of spiritual awakening. This is based off of my personal awakening experience, and I wanted to share it with you guys so that others who are awakening can kind of understand things a little better maybe. So the first stage of spiritual awakening is becoming self-aware. And this is where we start to kind of wake up out of the dream that we've been in, where we were just running on instinct and fear and societal and familiar programming, and we just do what we've been told to do and taught to do. Work, go home, watch football, whatever it is. And so when we start to become self-aware, we really start to look deeper and we start to ask questions like, who am I? What is my purpose here? What is reality? And you really just start to create this awareness of yourself and the world around you that you didn't see before. You start to see things that don't make sense. You start to see things that do make sense that didn't before. And it's just kind of this period of waking from the slumber that you have been in. And that usually takes us to the second stage, which is knowledge seeking. This is where we set out to find the answers to all of the questions that we have. And this can really lead us into the dark territory of the Cabal and the Illuminati and the shadow government and all that kind of information. But don't get stuck there. Definitely learn about it, learn what's going on, understand it as much as you can, but don't stay there, because there's a lot more beyond that to learn about. Once you learn about the darkness, it's a good idea to then learn about the light and solutions, right? And so some good resources for learning about the light and the purpose of the soul on earth and things like that is Dolores Cannon has some really great work where she talks about the origins of the soul and what happens when we die and all of that kind of stuff. And then there is a QHHT hypnosis practitioner named Alba Weinman on YouTube. She has some really great regression therapy sessions that really have a lot of good tidbits and chunks of information in it. And you can also even look into alien abduction regression if you're interested in the more galactic side of things. And there's quite a bit of information that gets transmitted through these regressions. So the next phase, once we start to learn the truth about things and how everything that we have been believing up until this point has basically been a lie, and that includes religion, government, our society, the way we treat each other, everything we've been taught to believe is basically BS for the most part. And so this is when we start reprogramming our subconscious mind, when we start reprogramming ourselves. And we start pulling out these subconscious programs of men can't cry, women are sluts if they have a lot of sexual partners, I'm not worthy, I don't have $1 million house, so I must not be worthy. It's like that type of stuff. That's false programming, and it needs to go. So we spend a period of time removing all those false programs, the programs that are not us, that are not true, and that only hold us down. And we start to learn how our thoughts create our reality, and how negative mindsets will keep us in an extremely low vibration, which makes us more vulnerable and susceptible to dark energy attacks. So we want to begin raising our vibration right off the bat, which includes, removing those false programs, finding self-love, learning to understand yourself for the divine and infinite creator being that you are, and that you are more than just this physical body on this physical planet. There's much more going on to the story than you can even remember. We've all come into this game with our minds completely wiped so that we could see what we do and how we act when we are separate from our remembering and our source connection, because it's a valuable learning experience for us as souls. We learn all kinds of lessons that progress our soul closer and closer to the ultimate source, or the all that is. So we start removing these programs, we start changing our thoughts, and when we start changing our thoughts from negative to positive, our reality starts to shift, it starts to change, it becomes more peaceful, it becomes more quiet, you start to find more joy and less suffering. So that is a really beneficial part of the process, and that's when you're really going to start to see things changing, is when you start changing your thought processes, because that is a big part of what's causing you so much misery. But nobody teaches us that we can control our thoughts, and nobody teaches us that our thoughts control our reality. It's so, yeah, I'm not even going to go into The Secret, but you can look at The Secret if you're interested in how all that works. I think it's true for the most part, but I also think there are things that affect how a manifestation like that works, like karma and soul contracts and different things like that can influence how we are able to manifest, but that is a whole nother video. For now, we just want to keep it on removing those subconscious programs and dismantling false belief systems and bringing the subconscious to the conscious so that it can be seen. And then we move on usually to a stage of clearing and purging. And this is where we start to really deal with the emotional stuff. We start to dig into our deepest pains, our greatest traumas, all of our suppressed emotions, the things that we didn't want to feel, so we suppressed them and buried them deep inside of us, all the way back into our childhood. And we really just allow these emotions to come up, to be felt, to be acknowledged, and to leave our being, because these trapped emotions stay in our aura and they can create all kinds of sickness and disease if we don't move the energy out. We are meant to be constantly flowing with energy, and when we get into low vibrations, we can create blockages in our energy field with suppressed emotions and emotions that we refuse to acknowledge or accept, and that can really cause things to go wonky with your aura, your perception, your emotions. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can come from that. So we want to feel our emotions. That's the most important thing. We want to even dig back into those emotions from childhood and feel those, acknowledge those, work through those. And as we do that, we start to create more space in our bodies for our soul to actually come in more. And as our soul is able to come more into our body because we've removed everything that is not us, then we can now bring in what is us. And so we're able to anchor more of our higher selves into our physical body. And this allows the energy to really flow and you to really get into alignment with your higher self, with your inner being, with the universe, and just be able to come into universal flow. So as we start to work through those emotions and those feelings, it really takes us into step 6, which is where we have created this space for more of our soul to come into our body. And so we start to get into alignment with our higher self. We get into the flow of the universe. Pain and suffering become very minimal, if not non-existent in our lives. All of this stress and suffering that we had been enduring up until this point begins to really dissipate, and we really come into alignment with our higher self and the universe as more of our soul is anchored into our body. After we have done this, we are in great alignment with the universe, and this is when we can really start to serve others and to help others be able to do the same and to help guide them through the process as well. This is where we take our positions as leaders, teachers, healers, whatever it is that our specific soul mission is. And as we integrate more of our higher self into our body, we will start to have memories of past lives. We will start to remember our other aspects. Like for me, it's angelic, Arcturian, like we start to remember who we are on a soul level, which is much more than we can even imagine that we are on a human level. So we really start to get a bigger picture, a higher perspective of who we really are, how powerful we really are, how divine we really are. And this puts us in a position where we are able to help others because we have healed ourselves, we've come into alignment with our own soul, and we are able to mute our pain and suffering into knowledge and wisdom to share with other people. So as we assist and serve others, it gets us even more into alignment to where we can actually ascend at any point that we choose to. Once we are able to get our vibration as high as we can, and we have served and we are prepared with most of our soul in our body, then we can choose to ascend. And this is when the soul would ascend, either via death or mass ascension. It just really depends on how things play out personally for you and how things play out on a collective level. That still remains unclear, but you will be ready and prepared for ascension when it comes. So that's kind of the basic rundown of what to expect during this process. There's a lot of learning, a lot of changing. It's really important to stay super open-minded. Don't get stuck in one rigid way of thinking. I personally suggest don't follow just one teacher, follow many teachers. Take what you can from them. I know there are teachers who say that they're the only ones who have all the answers, but they're not. I hate to tell you. Truth is found everywhere. It's hidden in a million different places. And as a truth seeker, you will learn that. And you will learn how to take the bits and pieces of truth where you find them and use them to create your own truth, your own core truth, and your own core vibration. So it's always a learning game. You never have made it, and it's really important to stay aware and in check of your ego and make sure that you're staying in balance with your ego. That is also a big part of it. The ego can ruin the show quicker than anything, so it's really important that you keep in balance with the ego and don't let it have a runaway because you know that you are an angel or something like that, and now you think you're above everyone else. That's not the purpose of remembering your angelic self. It's so you can help other people, not dominate them. If you're dominating them, you're coming from ego, and that's not what we want. We want to help people, not control them. There's enough control going on in the matrix right now. So yeah, that's kind of just how it goes, and at least how it's been for me. I'm sure it's different for everyone, but it's kind of the gist of how it's gone for me personally. My awakening started with the dark night of the soul, so I lost everything that I loved and cared about, but it has ended on a beautiful note with lots of peace and love and harmony, and here I am sharing it with you. So I wanted to say thanks guys for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.